When you're teaching your kids to come clean, you're better off telling them about George Washington and the apple tree than sharing the tale of Pinocchio's growing nose. That's a lesson Dr. Kang Lee and his colleagues learned when they tried to teach young children to tell the truth. Joining me now is Dr. Lee, a professor of human development and applied psychology at the University of Toronto. Doctor, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So tell me a little bit about the experiment you guys ran and how you tried to convince kids to tell the truth.
So we were wondering whether or not the classic stories such as Pinocchio, such as The Boy Who Cried Wolf, or the George Washington stories would have any beneficial effect to promote children to be honest. So what we did was that we set kids up so that they would be asked to play a guessing game, and we would place some of the toys behind them, and by playing the sound that are associated with the toys, they would guess the identity of the toys. The first couple of toys would be easy to do, such as a dog that barks or a cat that meows. But when it came to the third toy, that's a Barney, that we use a different kind of music that has nothing to do with Barney. And then we ask kids not to turn around to peek. And then we leave the room for 1 minute and to see whether or not kids would peek at the toy. And it turned out the majority of kids cannot resist temptation, and they would turn around to peek. And then when we come back, we cover up the toy, and then we ask kids, before we ask kids whether or not they have peeked, we would read them each of the 4 stories. One is the Pinocchio story, the other is the Boy Who Cried Wolf story, the third is the George Washington story. The 4th story is the important one, is a control story, is the tortoise and the hare story, that has nothing to do with the promoting honesty, so we use that as a control. And we want to find out whether or not after reading these moral stories to kids, kids are more likely to tell the truth or telling a lie.
So what was it about George Washington and the apple tree that made kids more likely to tell the truth when they heard that story?
So we believe that is because the big differences between the two kinds of stories. One would be the Boy Who Cried Wolf or the Pinocchio story that kind of convey negative, punitive messages to the kids about if you lie, something negative will happen to you. On the other hand, the George Washington story promotes honesty by way of talking about the positivity of truth-telling. I think that is the real reason that why we actually see more kids telling the truth about their transgression after hearing the George Washington story. And to make sure that's the case, we actually changed the George Washington story to make it negative. In the new story, we basically said that George Washington actually chopped down the cherry tree and lied about that. But he was found out by his father, and his father was not happy and scolded him and took away his axe. And by just changing the ending of the story, the George Washington story no longer had the truth-promoting effect.
So Dr. Lee, if you're a parent, you're trying to teach your kids not to lie, you're trying to teach them not to pick on their little brother or little sister, what's the takeaway from this? How do you effectively teach kids to be honest, moral human beings?
Yes, I think the typically parents would be using negative messaging. I think in terms of promoting honesty behavior and other moral behaviors, I believe the positive messaging is more important. So you always talk about the positive side of doing things that's good, not emphasizing negativity of doing things that are bad.
All right, Dr. Lee, really interesting study. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.